Hey guys, what's up? And welcome to a different type of video. Today we're not going to be doing anything survival related. I figured, we've been building in the steampunk style. We should do a tutorial on how I go about building steampunk. My personal style of steampunk. No particular style of steampunk is like the same, but they all pretty much use the exact same type of feel when it comes to how to get that crazy steampunk-esque feeling. And so what I've got laid out in front is the beginnings of a building that we are going to be making today. And it's going to be pretty big. Steampunk usually starts off pretty small on the base. I mean, this is just a 7x7? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, 7x7 square. And so that makes for a small interior. But you have to start off small in steampunk in the base. And so let me go ahead and build this up to about 10 blocks high. That's how high I would probably go, 10 to 15 blocks for the base. All right, so that is approximately 10 to 11 blocks high. I can't remember which one. And I would add in variation like this down here as I'm building up, but because we're in creative, I'll add that in later on when we're adding the details of this particular bottom part. But to begin getting into the actual, what really makes steampunk in Minecraft is how we handle this top portion. So what you'll see in steampunk is that many times the bottom is pretty skinny compared to what the actual building is like. So what we're going to do is we're going to put a block of acacia. We're using acacia because it is gray, but it has that nice orange, and for some reason orange to me screams steampunk. I'm not really sure why, but it for some reason screams steampunk to me. And so we're going to come out 2 blocks on each one of these. We may even bring it out by 3. I'm not sure. All right, so I did end up coming out by 3, and the reason for that is so that we can come out here, and we're actually going to bump these out. Once you fill this in, I always come out by 3 and do the bumping out later, but you will come out like this, and actually, that one was wrong right here. You'll come out at the end and then bump each one of these out by a little bit, and on the ends here, I would bump these out just a touch, so you get a little bit of a detail gridlock type thing here, and it adds a lot to this once you start adding in the details like buttons and fences and things. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to go to right here where these logs meet, and we're going to put a stair down, and you're going to start alternating stairs back and forth like this so that you get to having this little bit of a support structure. And you want to have that because it's going to add, not like that, you're going to have that because it adds a bit of realism to this, because it's going to be such a ridiculous style that you're going to have to come up with ways that it would actually support itself. And so we're going to do that on all 4 sides so that all of these are supported and are looking pretty happy. So when we're doing the upper section, I don't typically try to think about where our inside is going to be. I want to detail that out later. The way I build is exterior first, then interior, and force the interior to work with how the exterior is. I know some people do it opposite of that, but it's the way that I've found my type of build style seems to work best. So what we're going to do is I think I'm going to bring this central portion up quite a bit. So we're going to just bring this up a random amount, maybe about that high, I think will do well. And then this side here, I think I'm only going to bring up by like 3. So then we're going to have an interesting sort of crossing of these different height roofs, because I want this to come up to about, probably here, I would say. So I want these all to be here. And then this center pillar is actually going to come up significantly more because the roof is going to be very pointed. So let me go ahead and build these out so we can see the sort of structure that's going to be behind it. And then we'll fill in the walls so you can see where the windows are going to go. So we've reached a deciding point of what we want to make our walls out of. The roof is going to be made out of andesite and these acacia planks, so that it keeps with the orange theme of these sticking out logs, but we don't want our walls to be that. And so what I'm thinking we should do is some stripped birch, and I think that's going to be good. So the stripped birch goes really, really well with the orange. I think it adds a nice highlight to it. And so the interior wall is going to go one block in from the acacia. And so I'm going to go ahead and fill this in a bit, and then we're going to tackle the roof so we know how high exactly to bring these bad boys up to. So now that the walls are laid out, I think it's time that we figure out exactly how tall this is going to be. And to figure that out, we need to do an outline of the roof. So the way I usually do roofs for the steampunk style is some sort of like typical arch type roof. I'm not exactly fantasy, I guess. But I have an idea of how to do one today that is going to be a little more interesting. So we're going to come out by putting an upside down stair here, and then we're going to put another stair here. So right now it's only at a 1 stair per block angle. And now we're going to start in on a little bit of a weird thing that I want to do. And that weird thing is we're going to start coming out by 1 block at a time. So we're going to come out like this, and then this is where the andesite stair is going to be. Right next to it will eventually be an acacia stair. And so we're going to be coming out, every single step will be a step by step. So we're going to go step, step, boom. And so every single time we go up, we're also going out. And that's going to make quite a significant hangover. So when you're building like this, you have to be able to plan these out so that their roofs don't actually like smack into each other when you've got them fully built out. So I'm going to go ahead and build this out and then show you the final results so that you can see exactly what it's going to look like. All right, so now we have the arch of our roof made, and what we're going to do now is fill it in with acacia. And so I've already started, and right here I want to point out that when you get to this sort of angle here, you can do it both ways, I suppose. You could put stairs all the way into here and just stop the roof from going over to this side, but I think it's more interesting sometimes to make this bend here into here so that then the roof has to kind of extend over a touch to this side. Now that's all it's ever going to go, because this wall is going to start coming up right here, and then there is going to be this acacia log that will stick up right here. But I think it's interesting, adds a little bit of flair to this bottom part, breaks up this down portion area. I sound like a weirdo. And I think that adds a nice little touch to it. Now, when you're handling the roof, basically it's pretty simple. You just line up, so wherever you have an andesite block, after you are on the acacia portion, just start lining up where the blocks go with the andesite blocks. And same thing can be said with stairs. So then you start getting this nice outline. Everything's all lined up and pretty seamless. The nice thing about andesite, the texture, is it's got a pretty harsh sort of line on the sides. So you get a nice distinction of where the actual sort of shingling, if you will, with the acacia wood starts and stops. And so with this, you just add this in real quick, and then it'll start feeling like a roof. And so once you've gotten to the top, you just add in a nice andesite layer here, and that'll bring the top of your roof to a sort of a peak. And what I do like to do is to make this sort of portion stick out a bit, so you get a nice little sort of arc here. You can even go as crazy as starting to add stairs and things to really make it so it's a nice little bit of an arc here. And then you can add like that. So that's just 4 extra blocks, one sticking off the end, a block on the end, and then stairs surrounding it to get a nice little sort of point. And I think that adds to this little roof style here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this exactly how I built it here over on this side. So it's perfectly symmetrical with this side. And then I'm going to fill in all of the walls here and build the roof on the top. It's going to be, all the roof work is going to be the exact same. Once you have this stair, and then block stair all the way out, down, you know how to build the stairs for the rest of the time that you are going to be building this style of steampunk. And so it's really not that hard once you get it down. It just takes a little bit of time. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this guy off with the roof and the walls, and then we'll get into detailing. And I think then it's going to be close to finishing this tutorial up. All right, so the roof is finished. All of them are finished. And so I've got some small details to put in on them that I want to show you. And the main thing is that you'll have these hanging downstairs here. And I find doing this helps make the roof look so much better. And then you'll have this portion right here. You can do a few things with it. I like to take stairs going all the way down, and we're gonna have to do this on this side as well, so we'll do that right there. And then I like to take this and bring it all the way down, so we'll have a stair there and there. Or what you can do if you want this all to line up is you can put a block right here, put a block here, and then a block like that. So then it all kind of lines up. Or you can just simply put a block all the way down. I think either way it looks fine. Maybe add a stair there, and then cleans up the roof nice and tidy. So there are some things that you can do to this to be able to add some simple detail work that really goes a long way. One thing I like to do, because we have this little bit here, that is not necessarily essential based upon where you put the floor. You could bring this down by one, but what I like to do is get rid of these top stairs and bring a pillar of stone all the way across here, because then it adds a nice cap to this. It adds a second layer of depth, and it even goes ahead and hides this unless you're actually looking up for it. And so you can do that all the way across. And then what's nice is, let's get some texture variation in here. And so we're going to take some stone just very simply and just spread it around a little bit randomly. And this texture variation you can do with a lot of stuff. We could add in some andesite. It looks pretty good as well with all these grays. I'm sure many of you have done this before. It just adds a little detail work to your builds without going through a ton of effort. Makes life a lot easier, makes your builds look a lot better as well. And so now that that's done, we need to figure out what our accent block is going to be. And so I'm thinking we should stick with the orange theme here. So we're going to pick right here to do a nice tall window. And I think what we're going to do here is also try to do this little bit of detail we did on the other side, to where we have this little arch that we're going to have going right here. And so now you make this little arch, and then I would line up, at least this is my opinion, but you can line up this stair so that it continues to go in with wherever you're going to put your window frame. And so you can go ahead and do that. And this is going to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tall window. If you don't want to have a 5 tall window, maybe break it up. Make it so it's like, oh, I don't know. You could do this 2 tall and then this a 1 tall. Maybe that is what is more the look you're wanting to go for. I think also adding this here is going to be help for a lot, because it's adding color down here, and it's very gray currently. I like to add a lot of color where there is not a ton at the current moment. And so when you're picking glass for these windows, what I would do is pick a complementary color. So we're using orange. So light blue goes exceptionally well with this type of color palette we've got going. And that is really something that a lot of builders have to take into consideration when building in a certain style. If you're going to pick orange to be your primary color, you need to pick any of the colors that would go well with it. And so I would say you could go with orange if you want to go crazy into it. The light blue I would say is probably the best, but green also is something that could be considered. It is a very different color combination, but it still looks pretty good. Actually, I think, why not? Let's go. I use light blue all the time. Let's go with some green. So it's going to be a little bit more of a, if you watch Iskalium feel. but it is pretty good nonetheless. Now up here, maybe let's go with the light blue so it adds in some different color variations. You can also go with just plain glass as well. Nothing wrong with that. And so rounding out the bottom portion where we're going to do with the detail work is you can start adding detail down here by simply adding some podzol, throwing some trap doors down, flipping them up, and putting in some bushes. Now you've got a nice little bush set here, a little garden bush here. You can even put one there if you want. Personally, I think a nice little flower would do well, and I always go for the azure bluets because I think they look the best. And so continuing to detail, we don't want to overpower the viewer of our build with any more orange. I think we've got plenty going on. I mean, look at the roof. It's so orange. Let's go ahead and add a different color tone in. And so we're going to add in some birch. And I think this is going to look nice. It's going to give a break, and it's also going to add a little bit more depth to our build. It gives us a little section here to be able to hang some lanterns. So if we find some lanterns here, we can hang some lanterns on these guys right here. And if you want to go crazy, you can hang them on all four, or you can do what I like to do because I don't like things being symmetrical. I like to hang things not have things be pretty odd shaped and pretty odd lengths. So think of these as like string or something hanging off the bottom. Adds just a little bit of depth, and it also makes it so it's spawn proof. And so moving our way up, we get to this level of the build, and now we are going to need some windows. And I'm thinking the windows here are going to start at this level, and I think we're going to actually use acacia for these because of what we're going to do beneath them. So let's actually make these too tall so they have a little bit more oomph to them. So we're going to have windows here, and something I'd like to try here is putting some clear glass on top and some blue on the bottom. Adds just a little bit of difference and makes it so it's a little bit more interesting to look at, and I think I like that a lot. So here what we're going to do is, this is a little plain down here, so let's add some detail. Let's put a stair, and a stair. Just like that, you add just a little bit more depth, and then suddenly your build is looking pretty dang stellar. It also incorporates the stone in as you go up. We're going to lose more and more stone. So that is how you can bring those elements up just a little bit more, just to make it a little bit more interesting. And now what I like to do is cap these off with a little bit of detail work, and it's pretty simple, just walls and fences. Fences are your best friend in this build style. And so there you have a nice finished section. Some things that I've changed is I changed the glass out to the green to continue this here. I just decided the blue was too much of a difference. But to get that sort of light dark, I added darker green on top, below lime green. And then I think that adds like a nice little reflection to it. We may do that down here, but for now, we're going to leave it the way it is. I added a cross beam here and just some fences up top to add a little bit of detail. And so far, this place is looking pretty good. So let's do some quick detail work here. I like to just add fences on these little sections, add some depth, but it makes it so it looks pretty decent. And then you don't have to worry about that, and you can just move on with your life. And so there we go. We've got some fences. Maybe we'll change that out for something else. I'm not sure, but for now, I think it looks pretty good. Moving on to this section. This is going to be a bit difficult to work with because it's skinny enough. We can't really put a window here, but it's plain enough that we want to put something. And this, I think maybe some on-the-fly thoughts are some buttons. Now, how we're going to do this, I'm not sure. Maybe we just put them in a column and maybe it looks good. So the buttons weren't working out, but I found something that I think looks pretty dang decent. Now, what you could do also, if you wanted to, you could get rid of this and add in, maybe we just throw some leaves in here and we can have them kind of hanging down. Who knows? But you can add some different styles of things in here for sure. You can add in some leaves, make it look like some stuff is growing. I think that looks pretty good, but I think I'm going to change this out and make this just plain and just have a single line. So let's copy that over here. All right, so I decided to take that and make it just one single line of trapdoors so we can get some extra bush work in here, and I think that looks really, really nice. Now, this central portion is going to be interesting. I think we need some windows, and I think what we should do is make a pretty daggum big window. Now, what you can do is either make a giant window like I am currently doing now, or you can do 3. And I think we have room for 3. Maybe let's try out the 3 first, because usually that's what I would go with anyways, because I think it looks overall better. I would bring these up so they have this birch all the way around them. Don't bring them up too high, or else you start kind of impeding upon this interaction here with the birch in the andesite. Kind of looks a little funny. I would bring it down to there. So then you just add in your stairs, and it's pretty simple from this point forward. All of you know how to detail. Maybe let's be crazy and bring these down to here so they are even taller. And that is going to look pretty daggum good, I think. So let's go ahead and get the greens here and just see what this looks like. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and that looks pretty dang good. So that is what the detail work on this side is going to be like. So I'm going to go ahead, finish the detail work on all of this, and bring you back in for a final look-see at what you can potentially do. Ooh, missed a trapdoor. I'll get those too. All right, we are done detailing. So this is the side that we took a look at before, and I mirrored it on the other side, but this is a little different. For this, I decided to add a bunch of stacked windows rather than making 2 giant singular windows that go all the way up. I think the 2 singular windows would have been okay, but this adds in just a lot more detail work, and just makes it overall look pretty dang good, I think. On this side, again, like I said, I mirrored it. I changed these out. This used to be fencing here. I changed this out for a stair and a stone stair and a trapdoor mixture to kind of match this, and I think it looks overall really, really nice. And then this side, this is something I wanted to point out. You don't have to do the exact same stuff on either side. These 2 sides mirror each other, but this is completely different than the other side, and honestly I think this one's better. It breaks it up a little bit more, adds in some more horizontal lines, and I need to add some buttons here. It just makes it overall look a little bit better, and I think these sticky outy bits here add just another layer of depth. And so this has been a tutorial on how to build in the steampunk style. This is almost like a Japanese sort of steampunk mixture, and I gotta say I really love this style, and I think it looks overall really fantastic. And hopefully you found this entertaining. If you did, feel free to leave a like in real life, and if you want to see me do the interior of this potentially, let me know down in the comments. Let me know your thoughts as well, and I'll see you guys in potentially the next tutorial.